Hello, Sandy. Welcome to the live. Hello, are you hearing me? Hi, Sandy, if you are hearing me. Are you hearing me, Sandy? Say hello if you. Um, okay, awesome, awesome. Welcome. This is Nicole. I am the face behind power and redemption. And this is my first live. And today, as my thumbnail suggests, I would tell, the audience, we'll wait for others to come in, but I would, hi, welcome, welcome, Banter and everyone. So I'll wait for a few others to come in. As you all know, this is my first live. And this is the face behind Power and Redemption. And I'm putting on my glasses because to read the screen, it appears I'm doing it for my iPhone. And it's very small, so hence the reason, don't mind me behind the glasses. It's just, to be able to see. And let me see how I add the jacket. So this is my first, so I really not familiar. So I want to give you all the I want to give you all the blue jacket, but I don't know how to how to get it. Could anybody help me? Because this is my first. Do I press the little button that says community moderation? Is it that's the one to give people the access to go live to get the blue jacket? I'm not sure. Sandy and Banta, I know you all are pros. Could you tell me what button I need to press in order to give you all the blue jacket? Long press, the chat options are there. Okay. The chat options. Chat filter, top messages. There is one that's saying community moderation. And on that, no, I don't think it's that one. So I'm seeing some others. I'm seeing, no, I don't think it's this one either. It's not that one either. I'm seeing, Lord, I'm looking at highlights, save to your channel. No, not this one. I don't know what. Start a poll, create a tool, no. Click on the name and you will see moderator. Okay, okay, okay. Awesome. Um, Banter. Awesome, awesome. Thank you guys. You all are so helpful. This is my first, so I didn't know anything of, what is required to do. So thank you guys. Thank you. So without further ado, I don't want to keep you all just hanging on. So I would start, or if you're all okay for me to wait until 2 more minutes until okay, but if I could go right ahead and start, because today I wanted to tell the birth of Power and Redemption, how it came to being. I also want us to chat, and this is a safe space, and everybody is welcome to give their opinions and everything, and respectfully. And I've been in community with you guys already, so I do know and I appreciate and understand how you guys are very cooperative community. And so Okay, so I'll wait for like 2 more minutes and then I would start and let you guys know how power came to being, how power and redemption was formed, and the trials of power and redemption. And what I'm gonna say, this is my truth. I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm not here to downgrade anybody, but this is my truth. It is on my pursuit of redemption and healing. It is what I actually go through, and healing is a process. And I am on that journey, and I would give my truth. And not to offend, but if anybody were to come across the live and it offends them, then the truth need no defense, because this is my truth and I'm gonna give it no matter what, right? So this is how I would go through and go on. So 1 more minute and I'll start right away, and others would join, and then I don't mind, going over and I'm letting others know. Welcome, Empowerment Living. I'll give you the blue jacket as well. And guys, whoever is not haven't linked up with each other as yet, you're free to do so. As I was saying, welcome, Empowerment. I have on, this is the face behind Power and Redemption. I'm wearing my glasses because the screen appear rather small for me. So I'm just using, my tested glasses. It's just for being on the screens and computers so I could actually see. And today, one of the main things that I would discuss is how Power and Redemption was formed. And as I said, this is my truth. This is my live experience. Welcome, Inner Beauty. Welcome. Welcome. I'm going to give you the blue jacket as well. And everybody feel free to connect with each other. And if you have not yet connected, and we are community, and I'm really happy to have you all. I'm thankful for the subscription and everything, but please be reminded to do it correctly. So as I was saying, today I'm going to just give the birth of who is Power and Redemption, how Power and Redemption come to being. And I'm saying, I'm not here to bash or degrade anybody, but this is my truth, and the truth need no defense. So who would see that live after the rebroadcast or whenever and feel offended, I'm not at fault. It is my truth, right? And as I would say, I'm never a victim. And I'm on my way to redemption, and only God could redeem us. And healing is a process. It takes time, but we all are overcomers. And I am persuaded that the word of God would never return unto him void. And I am persuaded that he gave me this purpose. He gave me this forum. He has a plan for my life. And I was naked and ashamed for a long time. And, when he told me what I needed to do and how I needed to start, I was ashamed. I was like, no, God, I can't put my business out there. I can't let people know what happened to me. But I can tell you the ponging I get, and now everybody has a story to tell, and the trials, and they keep coming fast and furious, and they keep coming. And I am persuaded that I am glad that I was afflicted, so I could now know God fully, and to be able to, there's purpose behind the affliction. And so the ponging and the beating and the trials, and they keep coming. So I was like, you know what, God, I have to obey. I have to obey. And sorry, guys, I wouldn't cry. I make up my mind that I wouldn't cry, but I could be very emotional at times. So hence the reason. So without further ado, I would just go ahead and tell my story. And today it's about, and feel free to participate, to engage. So the jacket, Empowered Living, is for you could just tell others welcome. Despite you could tell them double tap as they come in. You write your notes. You could even and I highlight you, so others who haven't subscribed to your channel, they would know that the people who accepted the blue, they can go ahead and subscribe, do it the correct way. It's like you look at a long form video, you comment, you like, and then you subscribe. So you don't just go look at a short form and then you just hit subscribe. No, if you do that, YouTube might pick it up as a robot or something not authentic, and you tend to lose subscribers. So please, when you are subscribing to another person's channel who has a channel, you always go, you look at a long form video. After you look at it for a few minutes, you comment on the video, you like the video, and then you subscribe. That's the correct way, right? So without further ado, so I just hope I have cleared this up, and those who are highlighted, they could then engage with you and take your name, and you all could subscribe to each other's channel if you have not. So I wanted to proceed with three of us here, but I would go ahead. You are most welcome, Empowered. So I would tell you how power and redemption came about. So power and redemption for me in 2020, before COVID, right? Well, first of all, I was married twice. I was married prior, and they led to divorces. And I am not a victim, and I am not willing to bash anybody, or to give anybody any full responsibility, because I too have to take some of the responsibilities, because my background was very traumatic. You abused as a child. You also had your parent who was highly narcissistic, had narcissistic traits, in that they behave in a way where they had a reprobate mind. So they never would apologize, even when they are wrong, even when, they hurt somebody. They become reprobate. They have that spirit of pride. So whatever they do, they never wrong. Yeah. So my mother, although I could say, well, she probably, at the time, she did not know better, because she inherited it from her mother. So these things flow in the bloodline. So you adopt this behavior. This is what you see. You tend to think it's normal, and it goes through generation and all, generation and generation and generation. So I, for one, as a young child, I think, to escape what I was going through in the home and all, from a very early age, as long as I remember, probably I was about 16 something, I always wanted to marry. Because for me, I took married become an idol. And an idol is anything that you put up on a pedestal, or you put in place of God. So an idol could be money, it could be a job, it could be a woman, it could be a man, it could be a child, it could be whatever. And we know God detests false worship. He detests idolatry. So again, as a child, because of, the number of issues I had in my life, and as a child, I wanted to marry. I was 17, and any boy talk to me or whatever, I'm like, oh, I think this is the boy. This is the one, that I'm going to marry to him. And he's going to ask me to marry. Because I saw marriage as an escape. I saw marriage as a save all, end all, and that was my pursuit. So nevertheless, life went on. You went through different things in life, and life went on. And when I first got married, and I could tell you, I was in a job very young, and I was moving up the ladders. So in that range, a lot of people, everybody was married, and I was the youngest on the team. And so I'm like, you know what, they look so happy, and I think marriage is the, go look at their rings. Look at how they put up their hands. Look how good that looks. So for me, that was the deal, just getting married. And, so very early too, when my story, I would tell my entire story as the time goes. But today, I would just look at, just giving part of my story. I'm going to look at like trauma bonds. I'm going to look like at some soul ties. And I'm going to give a tidbit of how redemption come about. So anyway, so going back, to tell my story. So marriage was for me the it, everybody look married and they happy. So I remember having a previous partner who very young, I was living with him, and there were no, the marriage, the relationship was very toxic. And but I stuck it out, because if you like, you you looking to belong? You don't have that love from home. You never had a relationship with your mother. Your mother never tell you she love you. And again, this is my mother's story to tell, and I am telling my story. So, apart from that, she may have gone through these things, and so for her, she didn't know how to tell it to me or particular to her children. But what was rather interesting though, in her relationships with men, although they were no, they never tend to last long, but she seems to have love for them. And in a relationship with her in-laws, she showed them love, she was patient. So it was like, but why she detests me? Why she can't show me love? But I always felt that, okay, one of these days she would, she have love in her, because look how she treats them. So I would get it. So anyway, I lived with this guy because my mother left and she migrated. And so we lived in different areas. And so very young, I started living alone and having the responsibility of my siblings and stuff like that. So I can recall, so I lived with this guy for a while, and it was very toxic, and he, the running around, and the verbal abuse, and sometimes we have physical altercations, and I'm like, no. So I was like, but one day, God always, although I never had a personal relationship with God, but I knew about God. And I can tell you, anytime I'm in distress or anytime I have a problem, I call upon God. And he always come true. So anyway, I was living with this guy, and then one day out of the blues, I came from work, and I just went. I felt what I was doing was I needed more. And every time I said, okay, we're gonna end this relationship. We were not married. He's gonna he proposed, we're gonna get married, and the process continue, the trauma bond, continue. And every time I said I'm gonna go, it continued. But one of the days I came from work, and I aimlessly was walking, and lo and behold, I just walking into a church. I didn't leave home. I didn't know where I was going. Just aimlessly walking to a church. When I walk into a church, they were having a Bible study. So he said, come in, come in. Do you have a Bible? And I was like, no, because I had little testaments, but I never had a Bible. So he said, here, I would give you a Bible. And that's how I got my first Bible. Anyway, I went, I read off and on. And then I felt, it was not what I was doing. And that relationship, it was not for me. I needed more. I'm young. I'm just here. And, he goes and come, his name called with different people and stuff like. So I remember in earnest, so I moved out of his place and I went and started living on my own. So I remember in earnest, reading the Bible and so on. Some of my neighbors, and when I say neighbor, she was like a petition away from me, and I'm talking about in the Caribbean, living at that time. So they invited me to a crusade. So I went, and they talk about, giving your life to Christ and Christ's relationship and so. And honestly, when I moved into the home where I was living, I was having some oppression. Like I would be on the bed sleeping, and I would feel a presence appear on the bed or something. And I was scared, and it just wasn't right leaving there. Anyway, I end up going to church. And coming into that church was the man I eventually got married to. So while I'm in the church, and he came close to me, so God knows our heart and He knows our plans, but the devil knows our plans as well, because as a child, I always verbalize getting married very young, and this was like a goal for me at the time. This was an achievement, and particularly you in the church. Oh, it compounded. You got to get married. You're like, hey, now you start going to church, you got to get married now, right? And I felt that's the perfect place. Why not? So the young man came, and he, was near to me, and he shared his Bible with me. And they asked to pray. My God, and this young man could pray. Oh, when I heard that, I like, this is my husband. What I didn't know, when I asked God for things as a child, anything I would get it. But what? This is my husband, and he would marry to me. That wasn't the correct ask. I should have asked God if this man is of you, if he's after your heart, or is this man you want me to get married? Well, anyway, when I heard the young man open his mouth and he started to pray, oh, I was touched. I was, oh, I was in love. I would say that, you know. And he shared his Bible with me, and then he came back the next time, and he shared his Bible, and I was like, wow, he come back again. So the young girls in the church now start seeing he having an interest, and they were like, oh, but he like who, and he like who, and he promised who this, and he promised who that, and I was like, hey, but he picked me. I'm saying that, to myself. Because as a child, not growing up with love, not growing up, where you see this love, where you don't see marriages in your home, and they were far and in between. And if you did, they didn't last. So of course I always like, well, I will be the first one to marry, be in church, and have a successful marriage. So in no time, it was within like 6 months, he proposed. And of course, power would accept without a doubt. So I was like, why not? So wedding was planning and all of that. But I could vividly recall, and he came in with his traumas, and he did verbalize to me that he had mother issues, he had father issues, and this thing went on generational. So we both coming in with faulty foundation. So of course, common sense would dictate the outcome. But I spent 18 long years in this. All my children, I have 3 beautiful daughters. That's his children. So anyway, to I went forward, so I of course I accepted, and the pastor wasn't having it. He said to me, I don't think you should. You're not yet baptized. I'm like, oh, what is he talking about? Oh, the pastor to tell me I can't get married, and I want to get married. And look, I could vividly recall as a child, I always had dreams. And I could vividly recall having this dream. I am on the shore. Every time I approach the water, I can see that the waves are getting rough. I didn't know what it meant. One day, while the young man already proposed to me, he spoke out of his mouth, I am not a good person. And I'm like, come on. How dare you say you're not a good person? You're such a good guy. Stop it. Whatever the signs that God showed me, they went over my head. The red flags were there, the red blankets were there, the red sheets were there, the red towels were there. But I was like, I met this man in church. So what? And I always wanted to get married. So what? I'm moving up the ladder in my work. I'm the youngest on the team. Everybody seemed happily married. But what I didn't know, people pretend well. And it appears that everyone was happily married in look, but behind the scenes and in reality, that was not the case. Anyway, as you know, I went and I got married. Long story short, moving ahead, I got married. I can tell you, not 1 week, I realized I made a mistake and I wanted out. But I can tell you, the young man was persuaded, oh, people gonna laugh at us because some gave us 1 month, some in church, some gave us 3 months. When it make 3 months, they gave us 6 months. When it makes 6 months, some gave us a year. When it made a year, some gave us 5 years, right? And I can tell you, it was painful. I wasn't happy. I became a shadow of myself. I come in with my trauma. I come in with my toxic ways. This young man come in with his trauma. He come in with his toxic ways. And it's gonna be a big clash. So of course, we trying and we think it. We had a first child, then we migrated to Canada, and he promised, oh, when we come to Canada, things gonna get better. No, we never really dated. Because I was living on my own. And because I was living on my own and you were in church, I think the marriage came on actual quick because you don't want them to think while you're at your home, you're doing, it's a sin and you're sinning and you know what you're doing is not right. And so you run and you get married. And despite the consequences, I felt, you know what, I'm gonna stick it out. But folks, I can tell you when I come to Canada, it got worse and worse and worse. I become a shadow of myself. I was having pains all over my body at one point. I don't know what causing the pain. Now, also my mother and my other siblings, they were also here in Canada, but we didn't never had a good relationship. Although you try, with my mom, and so it never was a good relationship. So it was always a struggle. So it's not that I had family, but I was thinking, when we come to Canada, at least I would have that good relationship. I had siblings here, but because of our upbringing, because of the generational curses in our bloodline and the toxicity that exists in our upbringing, and we didn't grow up as a close-knit household. So when we meet up, we always have frictions, we always have problems. Welcome, KK Thompson. We always had problems in the relationship. It was always toxic. But I would leave and then I would go back and we would fight as siblings and we would go back because I always feel, I need my siblings. I need the love. But my husband at the time, he would say, they don't care for you. They don't like you. But again, this was part of the manipulation. This is part of the controlling part. So yes, on my sibling side and my mother's side, they are toxic. They everybody show love differently. There were not much love. There were always friction. But him doing this and continuously telling me this, it was a way to control. It wasn't a way to say, well, hey, I need you to for our relationship to last. It was a way of control. So I had a second child. It was still very toxic. He's cheating. Summer, winter, autumn, spring. He leaves the house. He goes out. I said, but you supposed to. I met you in church. You are a man of God. How come you are not going to church while you're in Canada? I would iron the clothes. I would get up in the morning. I say, you're going to church today? Oh, I'll see. I'll iron the clothes. I'll cook the food. And when the time for me to go to church, he goes to bed. He said, oh, I'm tired. So he goes to sleep. I take the children to church. But I go on and I fighting and I'm striving because as I tell you, I'm not a victim all the way. I came in with toxicity as well. But I thought the marriage, when I get married, it will be a save all. It would save all the issues that I had in my upbringing, that I was abused as a child. So I was thinking, I never had love of my mother. Mother said she loved you, and, seeing your mother kissing you. And so I thought marriage was the save all and the key to my happiness. So why not? Right? So I married and I was in for a shock. I was in for a surprise. And I keep going to church and I would cry out to God. I said, but God, How come you are not saving my marriage? How come my husband is not coming to church? How come we're not living in peace? How come? And then one day I got back a word from God said to me, look within, change your disposition, change the way you look at things, work on you and leave the rest to me. So of course, I start, working on me because I'm going to church. I'm teaching in Sunday school, and I can tell you, taught yes in Sunday school, but a lot of it was because I was molested as a child. So I have daughters. So for me, despite it was church, I would volunteer to be the Sunday school teacher because I would not let my children go down to the basement and be there and I don't know what happening. So I went and I taught, and my kids were there and I taught other kids, and it was good. It was a good feeling. So time went on. My husband didn't go to church. If there's an event and he comes to church, he would, sit in the back and he has to go. He always have something to do. And I listen, I work on this marriage. I stick to that marriage. I went to university. So I was a working mom. I end up working at that point. I was going to university. I going to church. I was like multitasking. So all that were, keeping me busy and keeping it, but internally I was broken. Internally, I was not happy. And I keep crying out to God. I was like, but God, why are you not hearing me? But after a while, I said, God would have his way. And then, I remember I got my husband worked for himself. He had a self-employed business. So I went to university, and part of the time while I'm working and going to university, I got pregnant with my third and last child. So when that occurred, when I finished school, I could no longer work. I said, you know what? I don't want my daughter to go to daycare. So I become a stay-at-home mom. So doing my degree, I wanted to be a medical doctor. And I could remember going and telling my mother, hey, this is my plans. And she said, you would never be a doctor. And I tell you, it bothered me because I had the grades and everything. And it bothered me. And I was like, well, why my mother would tell me this? Why she encouraged me? And I said, you know what? I would prove to her that I would. Yes, I graduated. I have the good grades and everything. However, that is not the plans God had for me. And sometimes we may think, oh, she said that and my plans were derailed, but God knows the best, and that is not the plans he had for me. Because I can tell you, I remember in a class where they brought in a cadaver, and a cadaver is a dead body. And I could not stomach this. The scent was horrible. And I left the room, and there goes the plan for the medical doctor. So I stayed at home, of course, and I helped my husband and, in his business and so. But I keep shrinking. I keep becoming a shadow of myself because I am not working at this time. I'm not having an income. He's out there. He goes out there. I have a car. Yes, I could go out with my kids, but I am married. We should be going out as a family, you know. And all the push and the tug, when I complain, he'll say, okay, he'll take me there. We go 1 day, 2 days. After that, he back to the same thing. I have to say it again. And eventually I was like, you know what? 18 years, I'm suffering here. The pain, I'm a shadow of myself. Everything is, no, I'm going to get out of this relationship. And I can tell you, dear folks, that when I decided to leave, I didn't have a job. I didn't know where a job was coming from. But I was persuaded that God would see me through because in my dreams, God started showing me he's cheating. I saw him in very compromising positions and I told him about it because I could recall. And how I know it was true, and he didn't say anything because he knew it was true. I could remember one time my husband was bidding for a job and a whole year. And we thought, oh, that job gone through the door and he wouldn't get the job. And I prayed because my husband, and I got up 2 days after and I said to him, if you bid this, you would get the job. And he said to me, did you see an email? Did you see a thing? I'm like, no, this is what he bid for this. And do you know he got the job? So when I start seeing like the cheating, the compromising, and I was like, no. I decided to leave, I can tell you, to leave. Up to today, I'm suffering for leaving that relationship because he's going to ensure that my life is horrible. I remember getting a little job. It was first job. It was, a little part time. And I was driving, by that time he bought me a car. And when I said I want out of the relationship, he punctured the tires of the car. He put down his car, he fixed the tires, and then he was driving the car. But God is always able. I remember having, to go to that job and drop off my daughter. By that time, she was about 8, to drop her off to daycare. And I could recall God always come true and he always have somebody in place. So I'm telling you guys this, my story. Trust God. Believe God for what he would do. His word would never return unto him void. So I can tell you, at mornings I would, to have to pay a bus, drop my daughter to daycare, come back home, get ready, and then take another bus, go to work. One morning, we have what we call Toronto Transit. This is the bus. I don't know this man. I never see that driver after I leave that job again. But God always put something in place. I remember going on the bus and paying, and the driver said to me, no, you are not putting any money here. I watch you for a while, taking the bus, going wherever you're going with your daughter, and coming back and going. He said no. And he would block. I can't pay. The money is not going in. He's not accepting money. He would drop me on the stop. And I would go. Sometimes what I'll do, I would go and drop my daughter off to daycare. And I would try to dilly-dally. So when I come back, the bus that will be coming is that bus. And God bless his heart. Yes, I was supposed to pay the bus. The TTC would have lost at that time. It was like probably $2 or less for the bus. They would have lost that fare, but he was adamant that I would not pay any bus. And my fare is on him. And I have free entry to bring my daughter to the daycare, come back home. After that, to go to my job, I would take another bus, I would have to pay. But every time, for whatever reason, no matter what time, if the bus is delayed, if I miss a bus, the bus that would come is that bus. So God is always there. He's always at our call, no matter what. So I, decide I'm going to leave that relationship. I no longer, and I tell you, the process to get out of that relationship, it was hell. And up to today, it is still hell because he don't take care of his responsibility, but as he should, lately. But God give me peace, and he always provide. And remember, folks, the word of God says, I was young, now I'm old. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed go begging bread. And I can testify of this. So he left. After a while, I had to, the divorce. It was hard. It was difficult. He did decide I'm not getting any money. He holding back the money. Listen. I was like, I just want my peace. I tell you, after the guy went out, and he left the apartment, that was the most restful night's sleep I had in a long time. Anyway, the story didn't end there. We divorced. I'm here. I'm not, seeing anybody. I'm, just living my life. I'm like, you know what? I'm not looking for people in Canada because, you don't know those men in Canada. So it's better, to get somebody from your country in the Caribbean. Somebody may know about them and somebody may be able to tell you something. But folks, I would tell you, I never would ask anybody if, this person, what's if no. When you come to me, I believe what you say. I take what you say for granted. I would expect that you're giving me your truth and you are honest. That's how I see things and I see life. So anyway, I did not know at the time about kingdom spouses and you're supposed to wait on God and he would provide your spouse. So I now I was talking to, as I mentioned, if you were fortunate to hear the rebroadcast, there was this young man that I had a history with in the past, very toxic, very toxic. He is just a little older. We start talking again, and my God, he came with the love. That's what I thought. So I was like, how all the time? Where all this love was? How come you didn't show me this in the past? And he was, well, like I'm older now. I've learned the error of my ways. It's you that couldn't wait. It's you that lived me. I didn't tell you to live. And all this sort of thing. And I'm like, but you know why I had to live. And at the time, I'm like, what I should have picked up is that he wasn't apologetic. He was not willing to apologize. But I passed all the flags, the red flags. The flags start turning different colors. I passed the sheet, I passed the blanket, every flag, every blanket, everything red. I missed it because I took him for his word. He's like, I'm more mature now. I'm like, but you had relationship, you had children. Why didn't you married, with their moms? Why didn't you? And he was like, oh, well, some of these people, you don't know what exactly they want. They never helping me. And he always came as a victim. He also had mommy issues. So he came with his generation trauma. I come out of this relationship. Yes, I'm seeking God and I'm praying and so, but I'm thinking, at least, he's healed now because he's being very persuasive, how he loved me. I would get a call morning and noon and night. I would get emojis. I would get calls. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God, where was this all my life? Now I can see why God left this relationship for last because I didn't have all this in the first. And look, he come and he's giving it to me. But it's a long distance. So remember, and that again is a flag. So he is in the Caribbean. I am living in Canada. So the day-to-day interaction, it doesn't exist. Support, I didn't expect it because I'm working and taking care of my issues here. So I'm like, you know what, probably I don't need the support. I'm working, I can cope. And when the man has to come, I would like this, I would help because he seems like he don't have any money, although he had a very good job for the past 33 years. And so I'm like, okay, well, he said, oh, I hope you're divorced and everything is well because, oh, I want to get married to you quick, quick. Folks, this is a red flag. The rush is a red flag. And it catch me every time because I don't learn the error of my ways because I so want to be picked. I so want love. I so know I have what it takes to be loved. I know what it is to be loved. I am a wife. And a woman, you don't have to be married to be a wife. The attributes of God give you, not everybody would get married. God has his plans for all of us. But I know I am a wife and I know, what I bring to the table and, and sometimes I'm seeing like, I'm, my weakness for, not wanting certain things, and not looking to God, but looking to man. And it's just a reminder, and to all of us, and sometimes we miss it. Only God know the heart posture. No matter the smiles, no matter the promises, no matter the big plans, and the future faking. We're going to do this in the future. I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to do this. Only God knows. So I can recall, he said to me, because he knows, I'm reading my Bible and I'm praying. And although he himself, like, so I'm saying to myself, the first one I met him in church. He's supposed to be a man of God, knowing God. Look how he turned out. This one is not a church man. So probably later on, God would save him, and he would go to, this is a flag. I can't help anybody save. God that would do the work. I am not Jesus' secretary. I tried to be that to people, and I realized it didn't work. So God has to do the work, not me. We cannot put ourselves in the place of God. So I was thinking, although he coming around like a victim, I thinking, oh, I could love him enough, and he gonna, forget all his woes. I could buy this enough, and he would, he would, be better. I could do this enough, and we're gonna have the perfect relationship. I can tell you, and not only that, God know our plan, and Satan sends people to derail as well. So I can tell you, he came in, and I had I remember, he saying to me, oh, because I read the word and I pray, and so, and he was like, oh, God wants you to pray. He said, you have to pray and you have to continue. So I'm like, you see, he's a man of God. Look how he encouraged me. Look. So this deception right there. So anyway, he wanted to marry quick, and he doing anything. I said, I have this land home. I want you to look at. Oh, sure, sure, sure. He probably looked at it twice, and that was it. Anyway, he proposed. So I was like, you know what? I would visit to ensure, what it is I'm seeing, it's really that. So I went before God, and I had this dream. Do not go into his house. I saw the house, the dream. I am thinking it means house as physical house. But when you read the word of God, it says, when the unclean spirit depart from the house, and in that way, the house is our bodies. So when I was told, do not enter into this house, it meant do not go into this relationship. Do not entertain or bring this person. But I was like, okay, God, I'm going to visit. And when I go, I'm not staying in his house. I'm going and stay in a hotel. My dear ones, I visited, I bought my ticket, I visited, I went and stayed in a hotel. I said, okay, God tell me don't go in to stay in this house. So I'm not going to sleep there. I'm going to just, pass. I'm going to stay in a hotel. My God, I didn't ask God the interpretation. I didn't seek for the clarity. I see the house. I was warned, do not go into this house, his house, whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to stay in a hotel. So of course he gonna hide everything that he's doing or his plans, and when I visit, if I wouldn't see, of course, what I need to see. I wouldn't be going asking anybody, and so I was like, oh, and the love bombing and the treatment was awesome. Hello, welcome, journey of my life. So the treatment was awesome. He came in, and the treatment I got, right, I tell you, I was like, my first husband didn't give this sort of treatment to me. I ended up in divorce. This one, he was I knew him before. The relationship was toxic, but now he comes and he future faking and he love bombing me. Oh, of course, I would come and I would get married. Or why not? So he proposed, and I accepted. In reading the word, God said to me, be anxious for nothing, but with everything, with prayer and supplication in the spirit. It was Philippians. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm not anxious. But you know what? I am gonna wait. I'm like, God, I'm gonna be waiting. I'm gonna give you. Imagine the audacity of me. I'm giving God time to answer me. So I'm like, well, God, He proposed. I'm gonna give you like to 2 months, and if I don't hear anything from you, then that means it's a go. Could you believe? So, my dear ones, I married again for the second time. Not seeking God fully, not waiting for my kingdom partner. I am coming from a background with generational curses. There are a lot of trauma, bonding, abuse. I was abused as a child. I face physical, verbal, calling out of each other name in marriages. And so I thought at the time, although I was going to church, but I thought it was the norm. And remember, anything that we do not know, God have a purpose. He has a plan. And I am not a victim because I myself, I am on the road to healing. I am healing, and I do know, despite the look, God has my kingdom spouse out there. It's not done until God says it's done. So, yes, two fail because I chose. I didn't wait on God. I made those decisions. And knowing my background with the abuse as a child, and you tell your mom, and they never believed you. And it was a relative that did it, right? And I was about 9 or so, 8, 9, and I told them, and they brought me to the doctor, but part of that memory, I blocked it out. So imagine I'm coming into marriage, and my first husband, I never told him that because the type of person he is and how he behaved, although he had a trauma. It was he had his traumas as well. He had mother issues. He was abused. His mother, left him, and his father was very abusive. He grew up with a stepmom, and the love and how he felt. So he came in like that. The second one as well, he was abandoned as a child by his mom. So they too. So toxicity left, right, center. They too coming in with this. But what I must say, I both offered in both instances for us to get counseling. And I was like, no, I'm not going to talk to nobody. I don't need no counseling. I'm not gonna go. So it's not that I didn't try. It's not that, I'm coming in and I'm all perfect and and never like I would fight back. Nobody ain't hitting me and get away. So in the relationships, they hit me, yes, they would hit me hard as well, but I would fight back. And at times, because it was very toxic. So I can tell you, I've been through. So when that other relationship, the love bombing, he came in, second relationship, I felt, well, I know him from way back when, although I knew the trials and the tribulation that existed, but I felt, he's changed and he seems better for it. And based on his years in position and based on what he does, he wouldn't do that. He's changed and he's coming in, from a better place. So of course I went on, and of course, thank you, the journey of my life, and everyone with the blue jacket. Feel free, if you have not subscribe to each other, feel free to do so, but do so in the correct way. Please, you look at a video, the long version, you place a comment on the video, you like it, and then you subscribe, okay? So that YouTube would not have the person to lose subscribers or you to lose subscribers. So please do it the correct way, connect the correct way. Yes, so and as I was saying now, so the relationship, no, the second relationship was long distance. You most welcome, sweetheart. The second relationship was long distance, and God had it so for a bit, for a while, for a reason. So he in the Caribbean, I'm living in Canada. But of course, I'm loyal. I'm waiting for my husband. I patiently wait for his calls, his texts, whatever. He appears as if he didn't have any money, or he appears as he's struggling, although he had a good job. So is my husband. I would buy the ticket. It's my husband, I would buy the shoes, I would buy the clothes. It's my husband, when he come, I would book a place in Niagara Falls, and we would go out and spend the weekend. We would go out and eat because I felt these are things that I didn't get in my first relationship as much, and I knew the pitfalls of the first relationship and what was lacking and what I would like. So I, instead of the man who should be the head according to God order, I was doing the leading. So if he said, oh, he needed money and this, oh, I gave. Oh, he this, I gave. Because I'm like, this is my husband. He's in the Caribbean. And eventually his plans was, I'm going to come and I'm going to, I've already 33 years in the service. So I'm going to retire and I'm going to come, and be with you. So I was like, it's my husband. What harm would it be to pay it forward, to buy the ticket and do the things and what? This is my husband, right? But lo and behold, he was living a total and separate life from me. Although he would speak to me and appear that he is good and he's waiting on me, I was loyal. I don't have friends. Like I would meet somebody, I talk to everybody. I see you, we have a conversation. You go your way, I go my way. I don't go to your house. You don't come to my house. If when I see you the next time you feel you don't need to talk to me, I'm okay. So that's the sort of relationship I develop here and have here in Canada. So it's not that I have like family here, but we are not close. And not that I have people, so it's only my children and I. So it's not that, I'm out there on the street and I read my word and so. So after the gentleman had a relationship, so the child mother that he spoke about, oh, she's this, that, and the third, when he came to Canada, got married, he proposed. I wait till he came here because I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go and obtain a marriage license. And when he come, he changed his mind. So I'm gonna wait till he gets here. It's not a big wedding, and then we're gonna go. I can tell you when he came, and something I happened to see on his phone. He gave me his phone to do something. And when I saw the conversations and the relationship and things that he said, and I would see, at that time, it was God warning that do not proceed with this wedding. But I was like, although I didn't invite anybody at work and it was just a small wedding, but I was like, but God, how I could cancel it. I would be ashamed, how I could, not, just cancel it and abandon this. He proposed. And, although not fully apologizing, gave some sort of half. Well, if it's that's how you see it, well, then I'm sorry. This is not an apology. He still proceed to go to get the license with me, and we still got married. The long and short of it, moving forward, we got married. When he came here, one day I went to work. He already planned that he also had the child mother he was with in the Caribbean. He also had another woman he was seeing in the USA. So I went to work and I was supposed to take holiday the day after that to spend time with him. When I came back from work, he left. He disappeared. And I can tell you, and that story would continue in another live, but I can tell you how devastating it was. My loved ones, I went to God. I say, God, no. Show me. Show me where I went wrong. I didn't ask God, oh, show me the man. What did it? Show me what is wrong with me that I see it like I have to divorce a second time. Show me me. I went before God on my knees. And, God said to me, oh, what needless pain you bear. All because you did not take this thing to me in earnest in prayer. Anyway, God was, God is faithful. God has the redemption power. God is good and his mercy endureth forever. Nobody could tell me anything different about God. God showed me, and as the thumbnail said, I'm talking about trauma bonds. And the trauma bonds are anything to do with an attachment, with anything. It could be a person, a parent, a loved one, where you it's a cycle. You go through this cycle of abuse. You pretend that everything is good despite change. There were generational curses attached. He showed me the soul ties. So God showed me I had to do a spiritual mapping. And a spiritual mapping was to take a candid look within my bloodline. So look within my bloodline and repeatedly see where there is the spirit of divorce. And I tell you, it runs rampant. The spirit of poverty, the spirit of strife, the spirit of adultery, the spirit of idolatry, the spirit of blood guiltiness. And I could name them, and everyone was present. And God also said, you have to forgive. No matter what, no matter the situation, no matter what happens, you have to forgive. And I was like, but God, it's hard. Do you see what was done? And I knelt to pray, and the Spirit says, get up. You got to go and forgive. Each and every one of them. Sorry about that. And so I had to. Oh boy. I'm not seeing. So I had to go and forgive each and every one. Also, what I was shown, that God showed me, that although I was divorced, physically, spiritually, I had a soul tie with my ex. There was spiritually, I did not break that bond. So I had to go before God. Yes, in the divorce court, we went our separate ways. However, in the spirit, I had to go and repent because God didn't ascribe divorce. Yes, all marriage are not of God. God did not put everybody together, and in my marriages, God did not put me together. So yes, I had to go and repent, but I also had to go and ask God for mercies. I also had to go and ask God to break those scars, to break those attachments of the previous. And so, folks, on the road to redemption, my spouse, the second marriage, he left, and he, he knew what he did, and he was ashamed, and he kept away, he kept silent for a while. But when I continue to give you my story, and as I tell you my road to the pursuit of power and redemption, I would further explain and I would further go into how the life went on, what happened, what led up again to the divorce. So as I proceed, I would and then I go through my story on the pursuit of power and redemption, how it was birthed, how power and redemption was birthed. I would tell you how it went. um the marriage again crashed because, of course, you have to wait for God. God ordains. God put people together. God gives spouses. It's not you, a man picking you and giving you fancy stories and proposing and not seeking healing. God would give us the men and the relationship. Once we pray, we want the relationships after God's heart. He would give us. He never leave us. He never forsake us. So I would continue with my story as I continue on the birth of power and redemption. Because quite recently, again, I had an encounter where I met someone and everything was outside of my norms, outside of my boundaries, things that I would not do. And I almost, but God is faithful. God is merciful. And his word would never return unto him void. Pursue your redemption, healing, restoration, inner peace that God alone gives. Have a good one. And thank you for listening. And thank you.